I want to be under the bright lights. I want to be on the Broadway stage.
Tiger Rag Radio is on now.
And welcome to the Tiger Rag Radio Extra Podcast, game week version of the season opener for LSU and Clemson. This is Jeff Palermo, News and Sports Director of the Louisiana Radio Network. The editor for Tiger Rag Magazine and TigerRag.com, Glenn Gilbo, is with us, and so is Andre Champagne, who is doing fantastic work for us as a reporter for Tiger Rag and the Louisiana Radio Network. Guys, we are here, LSU Clemson, talking season comes to an end, and we actually get to see these two teams play. Can't wait.
Yes. August is the longest month of the year.
And it's not because the Astros are losing to the Rockies, right?
Dude, as a Cub fan, you don't have much room to talk. No, it's time to play, man. It's been time to play for about 2 weeks, so I'm ready.
Okay. All right.
Same here. I'm ready to see them actually hit. We've been seeing so many practices where, there's really not much hitting going on. So I'm ready to finally see some more violent football. That might sound a little crazy to you, but that's what I'm ready to see.
All right, let's talk about some of the main storylines going into this game. And I think the biggest one has been the offensive line. It has been the most talked about. 5 new starters on the offensive line, and we still don't know who the starting 5 will be. Brian Kelly mentioned on Monday we could see as many as 8 players. I don't think when preseason camp started that they wanted to go into this game in a hostile environment against a top 10 team, against a defensive line that features 2 guys that are on the preseason All-ACC first team, not knowing who their starting 5 will be. Now, Brian Kelly has been optimistic and positive about everything involving his team and doesn't, at least the way he's portraying this, he doesn't look at this as a negative, that they may be swapping some guys out. But it's the offensive line. It's supposed to be 5 guys working as a tandem, as a teamwork, chemistry, all of that. And I don't know how you can get that when you're moving guys and shuffling guys, and it's a reason why it's such a big concern.
Yeah, well, I think it's not so much to shuffle and rotate because you got a lot of depth. And first of all, coaches always say that in August. Oh, we're going to play 8 or 10 guys, and they don't end up doing it. But I think the thing with LSU is, you got 5 new starters because DJ Chester, the only returning starter, is not going to start at center. Braelin Moore is, and he's not going to start at guard. But what I'm thinking is one of the new starters, like Tyre Adams at left tackle, or Weston Davis at right tackle, or Paul Mobenga at left guard, if they start getting their butt kicked, you're going to see 7. You're going to see another offensive lineman in there. I think really that's the most likely scenario. And then if they're doing well, but they're really expanding a lot of energy, give them a blow for a couple of series, because there might not be that much difference between who they start and who the backup is at a few of those positions. So I think that's what you'll see. And because if a guy's getting killed from the opening snap, you got to get him out of there and not keep him in there just so you could say, oh, we got 5 guys. So they got some guys they can put in there to give a blow. And I think that's going to be the key part of the game as well, how LSU's offensive line plays.
Andre, how do you look at it? You've been to a lot of the practices.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a risk to rotate multiple guys in just at one position, whether that's left guard or right tackle, just because it's already hard. We talked about this. It's already hard for offensive line to gel as 5. So I think Kelly makes an interesting point when he says, each possible rotation guy brings something different to the table. I think you can evaluate like that on a defensive line, but you can't necessarily do that on the offensive line. I just think it's far too complicated to do that, especially in the first game of the season against such an opponent like Clemson. But they're going to be tasked for sure in this game.
Is it a concern that you haven't had 5 guys that have just distinguished themselves and established themselves above everyone else? Meaning, Tyre Adams clear-cut starter at left tackle? Wouldn't you rather have clear-cut starters all the way along, or is it, the battle at left guard and right tackle? Is it because maybe these guys are not all that talented and it's just a battle between guys that are pretty good but not really good?
Yeah, and it also could mean that there's not a good number 2 left tackle candidate behind Tyre Adams. Maybe that's why he's not getting competition. So there's a lot of question marks there. And I think they're going to play more guys because of necessity, and sometimes it may vary according to the size of the D-line. But this is a game where you need an exhibition game. I mean, they need to be playing McNeese this week. There's no question about it.
Yeah, no problem with offensive line rotation if you're playing Southeastern this Saturday or Louisiana Tech, but you're playing a really good team in the Clemson Tigers. This roster, as Brian Kelly has mentioned, cost $18 million, a heavy investment in the transfer portal. 18, 19 players selected out of that transfer portal. Every single one, based on a lot of people that are watching practice, is going to be an All-ACC player at the end of the year. That's not going to happen. You're going to hit on a few of these guys, and some of these guys are really going to pop. Some of these guys are really going to be very good. So let's talk about who are going to be some of the most impactful players out of the transfer portal. We'll start with you, Andre.
Yeah, I have both A.J. Halsey and Temarcus Cooley, safeties that should make an immediate impact on the field. Now, Halsey is one of the most physical safeties I would say LSU has seen since Grant Delpit, but he reminds me, I went back and looked at his tape. He reminds me of LaRon Landry, just a heavy hitter, very instinctual, and he wants to go out and be physical on every play, and that's what LSU's been lacking in that room. And so Cooley is also physical, but he has more of the capability to play in that pass coverage. He's really instinctual, reads defense as well. I think him and Halsey are going to, I guess, complement each other really well because they have somebody that can go and, be physical and go out and, make a tackle, and then they also have someone that can really go out and get the ball. So with having those two, I think LSU's going to have, a hit from those two.
What do you think, Glenn? Most impactful newcomer?
I'm going with Braelin Moore, the center. I think right now he's the lone bright spot on the offensive line. Kelly has been very complimentary of him, and it sounds more sincere than the other guys who he's just trying to build up. But Braelin started for a whole season last year at Virginia Tech at center, and the year before at left guard. And he's fast, he's versatile. So and he may be able to lead some of the green offensive linemen that are all around that unit. So I think he could be very important.
My pick is Barion Brown. He is going to be able to do multiple things for this team. One, he helps it with kickoff returns. I don't know how much of I still think Xavier Thomas is your main punt returner, and Brown hasn't been much of a punt returner during his career in the SEC, but he's one of the best kickoff return guys, 5 touchdowns. That is an all-time high in the Southeastern Conference. He'll be rejuvenated playing with a quarterback that can get him the football. It had to be depressing at Kentucky for a guy like this last year. His numbers have fallen ever since a really good freshman season, and he had such a good freshman season, you would have thought this guy would be 3 years and heading to the NFL. Instead, he's back for his senior season. He's going to come here to try to improve his draft stock. He provides much-needed speed at the wide receiver position to go along with Chris Hilton. I think he's going to have a really good season. And I know there's this talk, you alluded to it a little bit earlier, Glenn, about playing all these different guys in the rotation, and Brian Kelly said there's going to be 8 SEC caliber receivers, and they're all going to play. If everything is going according to plan, it's going to be Barion Brown, it's going to be Chris Hilton, it's going to be Xavier Thomas, and it's going to be Aaron Anderson. And it's going to be hard, I think, for some of the other guys that are on this roster to really make an impact. And you want to have Barion Brown on the field as much as possible. So I think he's going to have a huge impact.
Welcome to the Chevy Lightning Round. Guess the clues to win. First team, you're up.
Powerful, commanding, unstoppable.
Silverado.
Adventurous, fun, techie.
Trailblazer.
Stylish, nimble.
Trax.
Innovative, electric.
Blazer EV.
Lightning Round champions. You've guessed all the right Chevy clues.
Wherever the year takes you, explore it together in the Chevy of your choice. See your Super Chevy dealers today.
All right, guys. Again, Saturday night, LSU Clemson. What is the one thing you're going to be really looking for when these two teams line it up on Saturday night? So we'll start off with you, Glenn.
The first time Garrett Nussmeier drops back to pass, I'm going to be holding my breath. I think a lot of LSU fans are too. I mean, Clemson is loaded at defensive end and on the front seven. You know, maybe they underachieved somewhat last year, but they're still really, really talented. And, you know, my fear is that Nussmeier gets sacked 5 or 6 times, and then they quit passing, and then they can't run, and they might lose 34-3, which Clemson did last year to Georgia and still made the playoffs. So that's an important thing to remember.
What about you, Andre?
Yeah, I think the key element for me watching this game is just how both teams' cornerbacks, counter each other's, talented wide receiver rooms. I know that in previous years, LSU has had to play, so many yards off the receiver, and so now that they have the tools to, be aggressive, I'm interested to see how they're going to kind of hold up. And so I would say that's going to be one of the more intriguing matchups for me, especially with so many talented receivers on the field. Yeah,
really good receiving core for Clemson, and I'm interested to see Delane and P.J. Woodland, Ashton Stamps, what kind of development these guys have made. The thing I'll be watching for is the run-pass ratio. Last year this team threw nearly 60% of the time, and that's crazy. That's a crazy number, and it can win you some games from time to time. I mean, they basically ditched the run game against Ole Miss last year, but Garrett Nussmeier and that receiving core was good enough to get the job done against Ole Miss and win that game in overtime. But you're not looking at sustained success, and we saw that. LSU was not committed to running the football. Part of it was injuries to the running backs and maybe ineffectiveness with the offensive line. And I think a first-year play caller in Joe Sloan who fell in love with the passing game. And why wouldn't you when you have these wide receivers and Garrett Nussmeier as the quarterback? But I have a feeling that it was hammered home to him during the offseason. You got to be more 50-50. And even if it's not working early on, the run game, you got to stick with it. Because when it comes in the fourth quarter and it's 3rd and 1, you're going to need to run the ball. But if you haven't run the ball for the last 8 plays, you're probably not going to pick up the first down. So let's see how committed they are to the run game and get it more to where it's 50-50 instead of 60-40 pass, especially if the game is close and they're not having to throw the football to get back into the game. All right, guys, it's time, prediction time. Let's start with you, Glenn.
Well, I think the LSU defense is going to play very well. That's a position where it's easier to play well earlier in a season, without knowing all your teammates yet. I think the LSU D is going to keep them in the game, but I think there's going to be too many issues on the offensive line and pass protection of Nussmeier and the running game. Final score, Clemson 27, LSU 13.
Wow, 2-touchdown win for Clemson. Okay, all right.
But it's only one game. And as I said earlier, LSU will win the rest of its games except one. They'll either lose to Ole Miss or Alabama and still make the playoffs.
Okay. All right, Andre?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a much more closer game. I think it's going to be a defensive game between, the fact that LSU has that new offensive line. But I also agree with Glenn. I think LSU's defense is going to do really well in this game. But I think that whichever team can be more effective while kind of chewing some clock on offense, while keeping its defense off the field, I think that team's going to win. And right now, I would be leaning more towards Clemson just because, of the fact that we haven't seen this new offensive line for LSU. I think they're going to have one too many 3-and-outs, quick drives, So I have Clemson winning 23-20 on a game-winning field goal.
Oh, boy. Close one. On the show, I had LSU winning, I think, 21-17, I think. I'm going to bump. I think there's going to be a little bit more scoring than that after I thought about it because both teams really do have good quarterbacks, really good receivers. Clemson's got a veteran offensive line. But I still like LSU to win this game because I don't think Clemson's the fourth best team in the country as the Associated Press has them. I mean, I know it was last year, and this is a new year, and they bring back a lot of guys, and those guys should be better, and you got a new defensive coordinator. But this team was not competitive against Georgia last year. They lost to South Carolina. They lost at home to Louisville. Texas, yeah, they showed some fight there in the second half, and obviously they won the ACC. But beating SMU doesn't mean all of a sudden you're vaulted as one of the best teams in the country. I got to see more from Clemson. This is a huge test for them, and I just think LSU figures out a way to win this game, and they win it by a touchdown. Again, 27-20. Guys, it's the talking is officially over. It's time for game time. Saturday night. Looking forward to it. Thanks for your.
I'm shocked that you picked LSU. I can't believe it. You've been ripping them for 3 months, but they'll still win. But that's great radio.
And I like you, Glenn, think they're going to lose some games once they start playing some teams.
You think they're going to lose to Louisiana Tech?
No,
said earlier. Oh, okay.
That was a joke.
Okay. All right.
That was a joke. But I could see him losing to Alabama. I could see him losing to Florida in the SEC home opener. I'm not predicting that just yet, but I don't really think this Clemson team's that great. So, and I think LSU's better. So they got the better talent. This is about coaching to me. Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan and Blake Baker, they got to get it done.
Yeah, and what an opener. What an opener for prime time Saturday night that, people that aren't even connected with Clemson or LSU are going to be watching.
It should be a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. This has been the Tiger Rag Radio Extra Podcast. Stay tuned. We'll have more podcasts as the season goes along, and enjoy the game on Saturday night. For Glenn Gilbo, Andre Champagne, I'm Jeff Palermo.
Summer reading is done. Back to school has begun. Join your East Baton Rouge Parish Library for events in August that will help make this school year one for the books. Attend a presentation about educational resources in our digital library. Sign up your teen for a practice ACT test and get to know some of the tutors that offer their services at the library. Learn more about these and other events at ebrpl.com. That's ebrpl.com.